had deep African roots? And what if I could prove it with ancient images, archaeology, and even photographs from the early 20th century? China's ancient history is filled with extraordinary narratives, but few are as striking as the story of the Black African presence in the development of early Chinese civilization. Recent discoveries, including ancient imagery from caves such as the Mogao and Yungang grottos, provide visual confirmation of this connection. Adding to this are historical records, anthropological studies, and even early 20th century photographs of Afrocoid Chinese that highlight a historical lineage often overlooked in mainstream history. These findings challenge conventional narratives and emphasize the profound role Africans and their descendants played in shaping early Chinese society. The story begins with the earliest known inhabitants of Asia, described by anthropologists and historians as small black pygmies. These early settlers migrated out of Africa tens of thousands of years ago, reaching the farthest corners of Asia, including China. Chinese records and oral traditions reference the Fulanese people as small and black, further confirming their presence in the region. These Afrocoid populations laid the cultural and social foundations of early societies in Asia. There is evidence of more recent waves of African migrations to Asia occurring within the last 2,000 to 5,000 years. These migrations brought significant populations of Africans who contributed to the formation of functional, civilized societies in China. It is these Africans and their descendants who are depicted in ancient art, referenced in Chinese texts, and even visible in photographs from the early 20th century. These later African populations played pivotal roles in the development of China's first two major dynasties, the Xia and the Shang. Archaeological evidence, combined with historical accounts and forensic studies, confirms the African origins of these dynasties. Is Fuxi regarded as China's first emperor? Fuxi, who reigned over 5,000 years ago, is described as a woolly-haired Negro. His African heritage is not just a matter of physical description, it is reflected in his transformative contributions to Chinese society. Fuxi established the first system of writing, organized sacrificial ceremonies, and introduced the worship of deities, which he regarded as assistants to the Supreme Being. He also laid the groundwork for social institutions and governance, earning him the title of the father of Chinese culture. The Shang dynasty, founded by the African king Tang around 1500 BC, marks another significant chapter in this story. The Shang were innovators in various fields, including medicine, art, and governance. Ancient Chinese medicine, which dates back to the Shang era, owes much to their synthesis of medical knowledge. Even the term Naqi, used to describe the Shang, reflects their African origins. Na means black, and Qi means man, translating to black man. French anthropologist H. Imbert, in his work Les Negritos de la Chine, noted that the Negroid races peopled at some time all the south of India, Indochina, and China. His findings align with those of Chinese scholar Chang Xinglang, who found evidence of a significant Negro empire in early Chinese history. Ancient Chinese documents frequently mention a powerful kingdom in southern China, ruled by black Africans at the dawn of the country's history. This empire, according to historical records, wielded considerable influence over the region, further emphasizing the role of Africans in early Chinese civilization.
Before I get started in the video, I believe I left out some important parts before I go in the video about my research. And as he brought in the Naqi people, I looked it up. All they said it was an ethnic group, right? Which we know that's of ancestry. So the Naqi people come off the Yunnan or Hunan people of diverse group of ethnicities that live in the province of China. So it wasn't until I had to type in were the original Yunnan people so-called black. Now, I'll start the video soon, but just the fact that a lot of our languages mixed as being Israelites mixed into other languages, right? So it says the Black Maiwa or Wu Man were the ancient tribe of the Eastern Yunnan who considered to be the ancestors of the Yai people. So you see, it wasn't until I had to dig deep to say that. They just kept saying it was of ethnic culture. Look, it says here, a diverse group of ethnicities. Yeah, of course. That's what they say about America. Anyway, on with the lesson. I want to give all the praises and the honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Recha HaKodash, and double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone. Honors as well to you, brethren, you fellow believers of this truth, your other elders and fellow believers of this truth, and shalom to the elect. So anyway, I found this interesting. I think some brothers went over that to some degree with the Israelites, being in that region, because we was over in that region before we came over here and was carried over here to the other side of the world. But first, I want to read a scripture first, real quick. John 8:32, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. So the only history they have on us is pretty much the transatlantic slave trade, or they may say we were some great kings in Africa. And then when I notice about a lot of white supremacists, they get on the comment board and they'll say, you people claim to be everything. This is what they do. So I'm not going to make much out of this. I'm just going to go and read a couple scriptures. It's very important that we know our history, right? I talked to a Filipino woman and I was telling some things about our history there in the Philippines, and her eyes got big and she lit up and like, how did you know that? Like I knew, but she said she couldn't talk about that much around, especially our people, because our people wouldn't accept that. And she also said there's a place right there in the Philippines they call Negro City or something like that, right? Israelites. Now, let's also get it straight that not everybody who has complexion are Israelites. So I just need to say that you had Japhetic people and various other people. And understanding that us as Israelites, we started mingling with those other nations, right? And we'll look like some of them. Okay, you'll look at some of the Issacharites and they look goddamn Chinese, right? Or they look like Moab or something, man, But anyway, let's go here. I want to go to this map. And right here you see China and you see Vietnam, right? Which explains why they all have the Asian. They're all so-called Asian. Cambodia and the Philippines, Taiwan, and you see here Japan, North Korea, right? And then you see India, Pakistan, Afghanistan. Remember, the Lord said he divided the nations to their inheritance. So a lot of nations had an inheritance, but us as Israelites, we came over into these lands. We were ruling some of these lands, right? In the time of the Byzantine Empire, we was ruling that. We was in Russia, the czars of Russia. You can even see the black icons of Russia, right? And I believe, let me go here. You see here China. Then you see here India. And you see here the continent of Africa, right? So it makes sense. And then we have the Middle East, Jerusalem. So it makes sense that we went up and when we was ruling up into the mid 1300s, we would have been in these different places at various times. So it makes sense. And then some of us came over here. You had different nations. We was brought here in the slave trade. So let me get a scripture real quick. Deuteronomy 28:64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. Right? So this also explains that while we look like different nations, we look like all people. We're let's go to the book of, let me see where I'm at. Let's go to the book of Hosea, chapter 1, right, verse 10. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it come to pass that in a place where it said unto them, ye are not my people, there should be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living God. Right over here in the Americas, man. Right? This is what Paul was quoting in Romans 9:26. Then shall the children of Judah and children of Israel be gathered together and appoint themselves one head. Right? And they shall come up out of the land, for great shall be the day of Jezreel. Going back to the Israelites. So I found this interesting, right? And how our history has been hid, how our identity has been hid, right? And we, one of the brothers in the camp, one of the brothers, not really young brother, but a younger brother, he said he was doing some research, and he said the samurais, in order to be a samurai, you must have Negro blood, right? Which means Israelite blood to be a samurai. So when you look and see how the Lord has caused other people to surpass us, and now when we need herbal healings and certain things that these other countries run over us as a nation, I'm gonna just say these other nations, when it comes to healing, right? And certain herbs, like right there is India, which they had a hand in the trade, the sugar trade and everything else, if I'm not mistaken, with Columbus and them. So there was a lot of history of all these other nations, as the scripture says, the parable of Lazarus, as the dogs have licked the wound, is talking about these other nations who supported the financed the tribulation even up to this day, right? So let's go back in a little bit of history. First is going back to Judas Maccabees. This is First Maccabees 3 and 42. It says, now when Judas and his brethren saw the miseries were multiplied, and that let me see here, the forces did not encamp themselves in their border, for they knew how the king had given commandment to destroy the people and utterly abolish them. All right, and I believe this is going to, when you go to First Maccabees, this is the Seleucid dynasty, or going back to Antiochus IV. When you read First Maccabees 4, he was that wicked root out of them generals that he put hell on the Israelites. Okay, it says, they said one to another, let us restore the decayed fortune of our people, and let us fight our people and the sanctuary. Right, this is why when you read Revelations 12 and 12 and Job 20 and 5, and it says the triumphant for the wicked is short before a moment, and Revelation 12 when it says they know they have but a short time, they see Jake of all kind of backgrounds and beliefs that are starting to wake up and come back to our nationality and our heritage, and we're starting to see that these nations are as nothing, right? Let me get that real quick. I think this, let me go to Isaiah 40 and 15. Behold, the nations are as a drop of a bucket, and are counted as a small dust of the balance. Behold, he taketh up the isles as a very little thing. We see this in 2 Ezra 6 and 54 as well, right? Let's go on. It says, let me go here. They said one to another, let us restore the decayed fortune of our people, and let us fight for our people in the sanctuary. Then was the congregation gathered together, that they might be ready for battle, and that they may pray and ask mercy and compassion. Now Jerusalem lay void as a wilderness. There was none of her children that went in or out, right? The sanctuary also was trodden down, and aliens kept the stronghold. The heathen had their habitation in that place, and joy was taken from Jacob, and the pipe with the harp ceased, right? And that's coming back again, Jacob's trouble, right? Wherefore the Israelites assembled themselves together and came to Mizpah over against Jerusalem, for in Mizpah was the place where they prayed aforetime in Israel. Then they fasted that day and put on sackcloth and cast the ashes upon their heads and rent their clothes and laid open the book of the law where the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images. And so we see this is nothing new. We see this in the time of what you call the iconoclasm or iconoclasm, image destruction, where they've taken all of our images. They were always hijackers. So you got these people, which is the worst form of theft, right? They knew that we were so great and they had so much jealousy and envy like Jacob and Esau that they want to be us. And this is why they've hijacked everything that we've done. And the Lord had his, when Job 34:29 says, when he hideth his face, who then can behold him? So the Lord hid his face from us, so we couldn't behold the Lord. And these heathens, they went, I like to say ham on Jake, ham too, right? And you see, they have no flavor. They have, let me get a scripture real quick. They have nothing. Everything they get from us. Matthew 5:13, right? Ye are the salt of the earth, right? But if the salt have lost its savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is therefore good for nothing, but to be cast out and to be trodden down under the foot of men. And that's exactly what happened. This is why you'll stand up there and you'll see in the NBA and people have no idea. They're not paying attention to it. You can even say it, right? In the NFL, how they have trades and they trade back and forth. You're running up and down the court. You're running up and down the field. You're throwing footballs and basketballs. And these people want a career, which I don't knock them for having to get a career and make some money, right? But you're still in a trade. We could say servant trade. You know what servant means? Another form of slave, right? Except this time they've stripped our identity. Before, under servitude, we could still, like in Judea with Alexander and them, we could still kind of follow our customs. But Antiochus came along and he said, to hell with that. And then over time, Paul tried to bring us back with the Messiah, bringing us back, right? I mean, when Paul went out in the ministry to wake up and bring us back to the resurrection of Yahushua, right? And then here comes the transatlantic slave trade. And that's when we really got messed up. And then that's when they floated us over here. Some of us was different places already. Slave ships came out of Europe. And then you had these different kind of Christians who said that they want to convert us to Christianity, but they knew who we were. So they took our Bibles, right? Redid them and then gave it back to us with everything, damn near everything missing, right? So it was a travesty. So then when they reconverted us or re-educated us, and those abolitionists, they had a hand in that as well. So when they re-educated us, you had another group of whites who said, no, I don't think they ought to be re-educated. I think they ought to just be slaves. So here you got a little bit of Judea, right? And then a little bit of Judean so-called Christianity. And then you have Antiochus so-called Christianity. So we see there's no new thing under the sun. And this is why now, when you practice modern Christianity, you practice in a bit of what stems off of Antiochus, right? Because he still allowed us, he converted like the kings and leaders of Israel to be wicked and say you can eat pork and you can eat crabs and shrimp. You can do all these things. You could commit adultery. You could be half naked. And this is exactly what you see in the Christian church. I didn't want to make it go to that range, but I just wanted to bring out how we got destroyed. And now you see our people who even adopted to the practice of the Moabites and was following their traditions. So this is why Deuteronomy 28:64 was so important, where he said, you shall serve other gods and you shall be scattered into all countries. What is important now, as I read in Hosea 1, the children of Israel and children of Judah, right, is being gathered and now appointing themselves one head. So the Israelites are waking up, and this is what they're afraid of. Anyway, that's all I have on that.